The political headaches aren't just confined to Labor. 7:30 has learned that the federal Liberal Party is being rocked by a bitter factional infighting, which came to a head this week. It's been triggered by claims former Treasurer Peter Costello made a bid to return to the political stage late last year, demanding a young MP step aside. It's a claim Mr Costello steadfastly denies, but many of his former colleagues believe it. It has laid bare the deep divisions in the Victorian branch which threaten the coalition at a time when it believes that government is in its grasp. Heather Hewitt has this exclusive report.
We are spreading the benefits of the boom to you.
Hello, Treasurer.
Hi.
Next one, thanks.
I mean, people are pretty confused about this one.
It was the usual frenetic post-budget scramble today. One side racing to damn the budget in whatever TV or radio studio they could find. The other side rushing to defend it in the Parliament as well.
This is a battler's budget that only a Labor government could deliver, Mr Speaker. We're proud to be back in surplus, light years ahead of our peers, Madam Deputy Speaker.
Does the Prime Minister agree with the Treasurer's statement on radio this morning that Labor's plan to increase Australia's debt limit from $250 billion to a record $300 billion is, and I quote, no big deal? Does the Prime Minister regard as no big deal putting $50 billion more on our nation's credit card?
Good question.
To the Leader of the Opposition, who is obviously struggling to understand the budget, and there's no mystery about that given his lack of interest in economics, as the former Treasurer Peter Costello was known to remark on more than one occasion.
The Prime Minister would not have realised it in question time this afternoon, but she'd just hit a very raw nerve. Behind the scenes, all was not well in the Liberal Party as talk of a Costello comeback swirled. It can be traced back to a conversation claimed to have taken place in Melbourne before Christmas between Peter Costello and his old friend, prominent Victorian Liberal Michael Kroger, when the former Treasurer raised the possibility of returning to Canberra. It's understood Mr Kroger has told several federal Liberal MPs Peter Costello asked him to explore whether the member for Kooyong, Josh Frydenberg, might step aside for him, or even the member for Wannon, Dan Tehan, or the member for Aspen, Alan Tudge. He was rebuffed, and Peter Costello and Michael Kroger have not spoken since. The essence of the chat was outlined to many MPs this week in the course of queries about bitter divisions in the Victorian Liberal branch, and that Mr Kroger told them he'd dismissed the comeback idea as a bad one, but suggested if Peter Costello was so keen, why not go after his old seat of Higgins, now occupied by his former staffer, Kelly O'Dwyer.
That's quite good, isn't it? Yeah, I'm looking older, you're looking younger.
Wherever I go, people tell me how well Kelly is doing. And I take a bit of a proprietary interest in Kelly, and I must say that it's great to see somebody who's made a mark so early.
Mr Kroger was unavailable for an interview, but has told colleagues that for Peter Costello, the idea of ousting the woman he'd promoted and whose campaign he'd launched apparently did not appeal.
Member for Higgins.
Yeah!
Nor did the idea of approaching another old staffer, the member for Casey, Tony Smith. The fact is they wouldn't have agreed to it anyway. All have recently been pre-selected again. Like Josh Frydenberg, regarded by some as leadership material, they're young, ambitious and see a long-term future in the Liberal Party, something Peter Costello was encouraging when he bowed out.
It has been an honour and a privilege to serve in this Parliament.
Peter Costello has denied having any discussion with Michael Kroger about a comeback and says he hasn't spoken to him in a long time. It's understood Mr Kroger has maintained to colleagues the conversation did take place, and some Victorian MPs are taking the claim seriously. They've declined to go on the public record, but say privately it's no secret within their ranks that the former Treasurer appears bored and frustrated that Tony Abbott looks headed for the top job. They believe believe Peter Costello now regrets his decision to quit, something Mr Costello dismisses as nonsense.
Well, this afternoon I tendered my resignation to the Speaker as the member for Higgins, bringing an end to a parliamentary career which has been nearly 20 years. All things come to an end. I've had a great career in public life. I leave with the feeling that I made our country a better place, certainly strengthened it in the economic aspect.
Peter Costello has told 7:30 he's well and truly moved on from politics and says talk of a return is payback for an ugly internal brawl over the Victorian Senate ticket. His estranged friend, Michael Kroger's ex-wife, Senator Helen Kroger, who's also party whip in the Senate, was dumped to the vulnerable third spot on the Senate ticket. Her supporters think Peter Costello was pulling the strings, something he also strenuously denies. It gets nastier. Yesterday morning, as Parliament House was abuzz with preparations for the budget, the opposition leader in the Senate, Erica Betts, paid Senator Kroger a visit. It's understood he told her Victorian Senator and manager of opposition business, Mitch Fifield, a close friend and former staffer to Peter Costello, could not work with her, and her position as whip was untenable. Senator Kroger contacted Tony Abbott to alert him. He was unaware of the machinations and indicated he thought she was doing a good job. He told Senator Abetz to back off, after Queensland Senator Ian McDonald threatened to call a spill of all the Senate leadership positions. It all adds up to the kind of division Tony Abbott is desperate to avoid when the coalition is so far ahead of the government in the polls. The Costello speculation might be one man's word against another, but it highlights the deep tensions in the Victorian Liberal Party, which could cause more trouble ahead.
Political editor Heather Hewitt.